Hello, hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Universal Language of Love show. We are super excited that you're here. And if you've been with us over the course of time, you probably recognize my face because I was one of the interviewees, one of the experts that Abby and Alyssa interviewed for this show. And I wanted to come back and interview Abby and Alyssa so that you would get a chance to know about both of these amazingly beautiful, kind, loving, kind, gentle women and get a better feel for who these hosts are and what it is that they have to offer and benefit you. So, Abby, why don't we get started? Was this your idea, the Universal Love Language, the Universal Language of Love show?
The universal love language. It's okay how you say it. It's all about how you feel. So
It's all delicious, right? It's all
Absolutely.
delicious.
it really is. Like the universal language of love is that. It's the feeling of the heart. It's being in the center of our being that is love. And I started it, I mean, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. I took a trip by myself to Thailand and I didn't speak the language. So I thought, I wonder if I go with my heart and I just open it and I just interact with people from that place, like what will happen? And I had the most magical, amazing experience of just the people there just really taking care of me, ushering me off the plane, getting me to the hotel, like taking me around the islands, taking care of me when I was sick, helping feed me when I got lost in the city. And it wasn't from using English, it was from using the language of my heart. So that's what really inspired me in that moment to just bring that to the world. And then, as I grew up and kept doing more intuitive work, I just figured, wow, one day I really want to spread this message. And so over time, and that's now the time 6 years later, that we're doing it. So
That is absolutely a remarkable story. I love that you were courageous enough, one, as a lady, to travel by yourself, and then secondarily, to say, I don't know the language, but I think that people speak the language of love. This will be amazing. What a remarkable experience for you to have.
yeah, it's pretty funny. I look back, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I did such crazy things, like going off edges of cliffs, like a water slide. I mean, I like can't even believe I did it, but I trusted, right? Because I was
Mhm.
in that. I was in that love, and that it really is unshakable when you're truly in that love. You sometimes don't even think, like you don't think straight, but you're taken care of.
Tell me what you mean by unshakable. That's a really delicious phrase.
It's when you're so connected to the world through your heart, you're okay. So it was like, for that particular tour, when I talked about going down a water slide, it literally was a rock, which it's about this big that your rear could sit on. And then it took you into the water and there was like maybe this much space that if you didn't hit that space, you were going to hit a rock. And I was just like, okay, I trust I'm going to do it. And everybody's like, Abby, you can do it. Like strangers I met. But I was so connected and in trust of them, of God, of where I was, that I was like, I'm okay. My intuition says I'm going to be okay. And I did it. So like an unshakable trust is you are so connected to love through your heart, to life through your heart, that like, nothing can hurt you. It is just being so connected. That is what it is.
And do you think that unshakable heart, that unshakable feeling impacts relationships with people?
Absolutely. It's all based in relationship, right? It's all how we interact with people, which the funny thing is, we don't always have to agree with each other, but we can
Mhm.
still love each other, right? And that's something, I even learned, I remember my first boyfriend said that. He's like, I don't agree with you, but I still love you. I was like, whatever, my grandma still says that too. I'm like, what? But, it's fun when you agree and we still can be.
I love that because we don't have to agree, but it's wonderful to be able to continue to love and respect each other. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. So, Alyssa, how did you get started in this on the path of love or connected with Abby so that we could produce this Universal Language of Love show?
It's it's pretty much been a journey of following my intuition and getting each step. Like I guess there's trainings I've done in the past just to be a better business owner that actually were opening me up to. I did some theta healing. I've been working towards improving my intuition and just didn't realize it. Met with Abby, like I don't remember we'd come across each other a couple times, but it was the first time I was like, oh, she walks in the room, and I was like, oh, I have to talk to her. So we got together, and I was like, okay, well, we have to work together, of course. And it's been huge, and just learning to trust myself and just go with it. But I've, especially traveling too, I've had the same thing where I'm like, it's just going to work out. I don't know what's happening, but it's going to work out. And I would meet people at the airport who had to go to the same area of the hotel as I did, and we would just carpool. Or leaving the airport, some just so happened at the same exact same time. There's people going to the same airport I was going to, so we could carpool. And it was like, when you know it's going to happen, it just happens. And it's really been trusting myself and just being in that knowing that has been the best part, is when I not just trying to convince myself I know, but I'm just like, I know it's going to work out. Then
What do
it's
you think?
amazing.
What do you think is the connection? It is amazing. I agree with you. What would you say is the connection between intuition and love?
They just feed off of each. Like, I don't know that there's really a separation. Intuition is sort of, it's the love inside you. It's trusting. It's believing just that everything, the universe, source, whatever it is a piece that is guiding you. It's that wholeness. It's that presence you were talking about, just being connected to everything and being in presence.
And what's the value of that, do you think, for an individual?
Freedom. It's
Mm,
creating the life of their dreams.
mm.
It's seeing the things happen in their life that they've been dreaming about. And it just, it's amazing that when you fully believe and don't have doubts or fears, it just happens.
So, how does somebody, and I'd love to ask both of you this question because both of you really rely a lot on intuition for your business, but also in your personal lives. How is it that someone learns to begin to trust that intuition? How do they start to listen to that? And then how do you strengthen it?
I'll go first, because a lot I learned from Abby, so I'll let her talk on that part. But my part was I resisted for a long time. My
Mm,
mom's always had a strong intuition, and I would get a sense of, oh, I should go do this, or like it would just be a gut feeling, or like
mhm.
this feels right or this feels wrong, and then my brain would take over and overanalyze it, and I'd come up with an excuse not to do something or talk myself out of it. Sort of 5 second. It's been a process, but like the 5 second rule, just
Mhm.
don't think, just do. And following with that, and then with Abby, just connecting to my intuition, learning to stop and think and then drop down, and does this feel right? Is this something I want to be doing? What's the answer? And I guess it's creativity, meditation, just including these things in your daily life.
Hmm. It's beautiful. So, PJ, I'm so present to what Alyssa's saying. You're going to have to repeat the question again to me because I'm just like mesmerized by her. I'm like, we're pulled in.
So, how does someone begin to listen to their intuition? And then how do they strengthen it?
Okay. Okay. So, like Alyssa said, in my experience, it's a knowing. And like I'm putting my hand on my heart, you listen
Mm,
first with your heart, right?
mm,
So, for me, I think the biggest, most fun experience to share is when I was in college, my heart was actually pulling me away from it. It was pulling me to San Diego. I was going to school in LA,
mm,
and I literally could feel my heart pull me. And then like she said, the gut, I think you said this, maybe not, Alyssa, your gut feeling, right? So you get the heart and then it connects to your gut and it just literally moves you. And so I listened to that in my body, right? Not just my mind. And the truth is when you're following your intuition, it may not make sense in the moment, but it will make sense. And I remember being like, well, I don't like college. I love children. I want to be a nanny and I want to start my own company. And I have a theory that we have the answers within us. So it actually made sense to leave. Like I got this pull and it's like, the definition of intuition is beyond, I think it's intellectual understanding. So it's a part of you that just knows on an instant. That's why Alyssa was saying the 5 second rule, like you can just kind of know that that's, the thing to do. But to listen to it is like she said, to drop into your heart. So connect there and then move deeper, even still into your belly, into that center, that gut feeling that knows. And it's like, I remember when I was a kid, like I experienced so much trauma, but I'd go into the
mm,
center point of like, I would imagine there was this book, it was on meditation, and I saw the cover, and I still remember it was a water of ripple. It was like a ripple effect on the surface of a lake, like water.
mm,
And I remember just sensing if I was to take a pebble and drop it to the bottom of that lake, there would be a stillness. And that stillness is this place of peace. It's this place of knowing. It's a place of certainty. It's a place of truth. and ultimately a place of love, right? Because everything calls us back to love. So I would go into that place amidst the chaos of everything that was happening and just find that stillness and that certainty. And when I felt that certainty, I would move. So that's the next step. You take action on it. When it feels certain, and I get chills as I'm telling you this, you take action on the place, the certainty, that feeling. It's a knowing within you. And then it's just so freaking fun because your world just opens up, because that's the place that's connected to everything, right? Knows truth, knows certainty. So then when you take action, it's like your world is like miraculous. You know, I actually left that scholarship, started the company, and my mentor just gave me an office, and it was like bam, bam, bam. It was one thing after another. And people are like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, it's like connecting to this sweet spot, you know, like when you find it, you just do it. And then it looks like it's easy, but the truth is you just found the core of who you are. And that's what we teach in the program. It's like you access that, you're like coming home to you. And then the world is just yours, you know, to share truly from love, right? When you are fully you, you will be of service. It's just the way we're created. It's like your cup runneth over, you know?
I love that. I think that's delicious. Do you,
Let me
Alyssa?
share some water. My cup is running over. It has Bach flowers in it. You want some?
It's very delicious. Very delicious. Alyssa, did you want to respond to that? Because it looked like you wanted to add something.
Um, I forgot what it was. I'll bring it back up again.
If you think of it, just say it.
I was so focused on what she was saying too.
One of the things, Abby, that I liked about what you were saying is you were talking about the stillness that's deep inside and this knowing. And I was reminded of how some people are in their heads and some people are in their body, right? And that reminded me of what's often referred to as the most important journey anyone will ever take. Have you heard this? Do you know what the most important journey anyone will ever take?
No.
It's the 18 inches between your head and your heart. The 18 inches between your head and your heart. It's the difference between being in your head and being in your body, being in your emotional body. How do you teach someone to shift out of their head when they've got lots of mental chaos and lots of things going on and they're just constantly like experiencing that barrage of mental chatter, that monkey mind that they just can't seem to shut down? And you know that if we can get that to quiet, to silence, to become still, that they can shift into their body, or that if they shift into their body, they can quiet that mind. How do you get people to make that shift, that move?
This is a really awesome question. So I'm just thinking about what you say. So literally you're talking about like, here's my head, here's my heart, and there's 18
Amen,
inches
sister.
in between. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get them or me or anybody to that place?
Yes. How do you get them out of their head and into their emotional body, into that space where they can be connected to their intuition, where they can be connected to their heart, where they can actually feel love?
I mean, it really is what we're saying. So basically what you're asking is how do you get into your heart, right? Because the
Sure.
18 inches between your head and your heart,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the processing or the integration, maybe. So here's what's coming through, PJ, is you and I both have studied the subconscious mind, right? So
Yes. Yes.
the subconscious mind is 80% of us, right? Meaning it's like a computer. So anything that's
I've heard as much as even 95% of our cognitive behavior.
okay.
Yeah. So it just depends on the research, but still it's a significant portion of what's going on in our being.
Right. So if you think about that subconscious as a computer, it's pretty much running the show. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're on automatic until
Mm-hmm.
you interrupt it, until
Mm-hmm.
you actually get to your heart. So meaning it's stored memory. If something happened as a child that connected a thought with an emotion that was negative, you created a belief about yourself and the world that actually is an energetic block to your soul, which is infinite love, which is your intuition, by the way. Your soul embodied, in my experience, in my definition, your intuition is your soul embodied because it's the infinite part of you that knows. So what we do is we actually transform the conditioned mind, the experience we've had in 3D reality, from people and circumstances that have temporarily been disconnected from love, right? Myself included. I'm not always in love. I wish I was.
Sure.
And I can come back to my heart. I can come back to center.
Mhm.
So the 18 inches, I feel, is how do you return to love?
Yes.
Some of the things you can do is ask yourself, what do you love? Simple question.
Mm,
But
I love
whatever
that.
you answer with, go do it, because it's going to get you in the frequency of love. Like, I love having conversations with my friends. Like, having this interview is like my heart turned back on. Like, I was in a really bad mood before this, and then I'm like, my friends are online. Oh my God, I'm so excited, right? Or going to the beach, right? So everybody's going to have their things. Some people like spending time alone. Maybe that's what you love. That's fine. So there's no judgment, because truth is, if you're loving something, it's going to bring benefit, right? Because your
Yes.
heart is going to do that. I feel like there's like maybe 2 or 3 other things I could offer as a way to get there. I don't know. Maybe start with that, and if you can't in the moment, remember a time that you did feel love.
Yes.
And if you're like, I have no idea what love would feel like, I invite you to try this on, because some part of you does know. So if love was an image, what would it look like?
Ooh, beautiful.
Right? If love was a sound, what would it sound like?
Mm,
If love was a feeling in your body, how would you feel? Would it be light? Would it be heavy? Would it be dense? How would you experience
mm,
it? And if love was a taste, what would it taste like for you? And even if love was a smell, what would it smell like? And as you feel that and experience love now, you can just put your hand on your heart and just anchor in that feeling and let your nervous system know this is what love feels like, and it's okay to feel love. That you are here to experience more love.
mm.
Breathing that in. And then you can gently release your hand, and knowing that each time you actually touch your hand on your heart, you've anchored that beautiful feeling of love in. So your nervous system now remembers and knows what it feels like. So you can come back to love. Simple as that. Yeah,
So
there you have it.
being able to come back and touch their heart with their
Yeah.
hand will
So what
remind them, right? This is what the anchoring is.
Right. So what that does is, the story of like Pavlov's dog, right? He sees the dog
Yes.
dish and he knows it's time to eat. So what we did here is we created a kinesthetic anchor saying, hey, body mind system, every time we do this, we feel love. So the nervous system remembers what it feels like. And when we trigger that, it fires off. Just we're like we're all chemistry, right? Like we have that going on for us. So it's basically saying, hey brain, every time I do this, the body can feel love. The heart
Mm.
can remember who it is.
I think that's juicy and delicious. I love the deliciousness of what you were saying about if love were a smell, what would it smell like? If love were a taste, what would it taste like? Oh, it just melted inside of me. It was like having M&Ms. Instead of melting in your hand, they were melting in my mouth. Your words were melting in my soul. It was delicious.
You're so funny.
You should quote that. Your words were melting in my soul. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad.
Me too. It was delicious. Alyssa, how about for you? How do you help people reconnect to their heart? How do you help people turn that love on again?
And it's interesting because it's been a process I've been going through recently as well. As Abby said, like ask yourself, what do you love? What makes you happy? And I sort of connect happiness and love together. There's sort of it's joy and bliss.
Mhm.
But if you've lost both, starting finding one will lead to the other as well. And for me, it can be little things. Like sometimes you ask yourself, okay, I'm not happy right now. What do I love? What will bring me joy? And sometimes you're just so in the weeds that you're like, I don't know yet. But it's finding the little things. Maybe it's just going out for a walk, for a 15-minute walk, getting outside and moving, or calling up a friend or hanging out with a friend. Just
Mm.
finding those little pieces of the day that you can just start to find joy and appreciating, finding gratitude
Mhm.
when you're just not happy, like life seems to be in the dumps. Just maybe it's a journal every day, writing 10 things you're grateful for, meaningful things, but little things that made a difference in your day. Maybe it was the person that smiled when you were at the grocery store, or when you like glared at them, but they turned around and sent you a smile. Or maybe it's just sunshine. Maybe all you can be happy for is it's sunny today. but starting those little things. And one of my actual favorites was doing a daily gratitude picture. So I had to actually be looking for something throughout the day that I was happy for, that just brought a smile to my face and brought some joy in my life. Because most things that make me happy, I love.
Mhm.
And it's interesting through that process, like it sort of snowballs and it just gets bigger. And before you realize it, it may take a month, it may take 3 months, it'll take time. But you start first focusing on the positive and the things you like and noticing those. But you start finding joy in more things just in your daily life. And maybe when you're not in that state, it was just another day. But when you've got more joy, like even daily things bring you joy. Having a morning routine can bring me joy, and like getting to work through it and knowing, hey, like I'm taking care of myself. Last night I decided I was going to run to the gym, even though I was like, well, it's getting late, daylight savings just ended. But I was like, but this is what makes me happy. And I just did a quick workout. And I was like, but I came here, maybe it was only 20 minutes, but I came here, I made it, I did it for myself. So just finding those little things that you're taking care of yourself, finding joy, and it snowballs. And it for me now, it's love, it's joy, it's just being happy with life.
So a couple of questions. Well, a question and a comment. The the comment is that what I love about what you're saying is it feels like and looks like in my mind that you are leaving breadcrumbs of a breadcrumb trail back to love by saying, recognize the little things that bring you joy. What's something that is bringing you gratitude? What's something that's making you happy? And what's something that is causing you to be to laugh in that moment, right? All of these, when you start looking at these, they sound like breadcrumbs back to love.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting, and maybe I didn't understand you, but you said you look for a gratitude picture every day. What does that mean? What's a gratitude picture?
Well, something so instead of just listing, like, this is what I was grateful for, some days it was like I'd go for a walk and like I saw this amazing, like old Victorian style house. And I'm like, oh, that makes me happy. I like that. That's pretty. Or one morning I was desperately looking for something and I was like, I foam roll every morning and I actually love how that makes me feel. So I took a picture of my foam roll for the day. And it can be just personal. It can be something you share. Or it could be you're out with a friend and you take a selfie together, but just taking a visual representation of what makes you happy and in the moment. So you're spending your day, what can I take a picture of? Oh, this was like my moment of joy today. Oh, but what if this is my highlight of, actually, that's something I came up with last week. I was like, what's my highlight of the day? And then what's my highlight of the week?
Mm.
And maybe it's something I'm looking forward to. And I'm like, oh, Saturday's my highlight of the week because this is going to happen. But then I spend the rest of the days going like, oh, well, what's my highlight for today? Is that better than Saturday's? And I don't know, that has to be a comparison, but it's almost like, oh, what's my most exciting thing that's happening this week? What is making me happy?
I also like the idea of taking exactly what you're saying, was my highlight of the day, what was my highlight of the week, and flipping it to what is my highlight for tomorrow? What am I excited about waking up for? Or when you wake up, what's my highlight for today? What am I excited about today? What's my highlight for this week that I'm excited about this week, for the rest of the week that is, still yet to come? So this idea of also looking forward to something instead of looking back and being grateful for what you've experienced, also carrying it forward and looking forward with that same gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing a bit of both, but definitely it's something to wake up to that day. Or if you're on Monday and you have a bad day, but you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's going to happen on Friday and I'm so looking forward to it. So it's going to be amazing.
I love that. So I have a great question. This question I want both of you to answer, and it might take a moment for you to think about. Um, you might have heard the phrase, the raw, compassionate heart of Jesus, for example. Okay, now, no matter what your spiritual beliefs are, Buddhist, Islamic, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, whatever it is, whatever your particular practice is, or just genuinely spiritual, I still like the idea of the raw, compassionate heart of Christ, right? And so, or of Jesus. So I want to ask you, when have you, throughout your whole life, have you had a moment when your heart was touched so deeply that that just the mere touch of something brought you to tears or brought you to a level of amazing ecstasy because of the amount of love that you had for a person or a situation? Can you think of the one moment where you felt love more deeply than you'd ever felt it before? And what led up to that? What was the event that led to that experience for you?
I can definitely answer if you want. So I'm not going to choose just one, but I will tell you
Right.
the one that came to mind.
Yes.
And it was when we went to the orphanage with the kids in Bali. And so there was about 150 kids. And I remember we put all of our feet together. We literally united all of our feet together in a circle. And it was just, it was it was like ecstatic bliss because there was so much love built up into that point. Like I'd poured my heart into it for about a year, seeing the visions of these kids, and then to have them there loving all over me, right? Like just, you couldn't stop it. Like it just was, right? And so there was no doing, there was just being. There was just a beingness and a connection of One Heart Global, right? Which is our nonprofit that Alyssa's on as well. She's a huge contributor to our oneheartglobal.co if anybody wants to go there. And this is what we do. You know, we go to orphanages and we help these children awaken intuition within them, believe in themselves, and give them resources to have homes of love and safety, and to give them the education to succeed, right? To really be who they are. So, and we teach them the same curriculum that we teach the adults, right? It's all the same. It's the activation of truth within us. So anyways, just coming back to your question, that's where I experienced like just a mothering of like love of children of the world. It was just, man, yeah, it's unexplainable, right? Yeah, it just,
Humbling, right?
yeah.
It's humbling.
Let me yes, beyond belief, yes. And they have so much to teach us. My God.
What would you say was your walk away? What did they teach you in that moment? What did you walk away with?
They taught me what they already knew and what I already knew. They taught me intuition. Like they just already knew what I was teaching them. So it's kind of like, you know what? Coming back to the word presence, like being totally present in the moment is truth, right? I mean, it was just, that was the bliss. It was just being present in love, you know? No really agenda, just guidance. Like, here's what I'm offering and here's how we connect. Um, yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. There's a reverence inside of me just listening to you, that just hearing your story calmed me down and centered me even more. And I just got even more quiet internally, even more still. So while I want to be excited and lively and vibrant, it just settled in me and just allowed me to be in the presence. It was really beautiful.
PJ, I have to tell you something. When I first started seeing visions of just wellness centers and kids and stuff, when I was 19, I kept hearing the word reverence. I just kept hearing it, reverence, and I didn't know what it meant. And it's, as you're telling me, I'm just like full body, like chills, like, wow, like it, to have that effect on you tells me that spirit, God, the universe was talking to me then. And even though I didn't know what I was doing or how it was going to look, I listened. And this is how synchronistic life is. I walked down the street probably 2 hours ago, and there was a little card that said, listen, listen, listen. And I was like, okay, God, what do you want to tell me? And so I'm like in awe, like my heart and my jaw is just like dropping, like, wow, like how interconnected, like there's a divine order to everything, that if we listen, we are being given these breadcrumbs. Like Alyssa's giving us some of like staying in gratitude, which may sound like something so simple, but my God, if I would have gotten that lesson earlier, I would have saved myself a lot of pain. So like, listen to her, she's so wise. And you know, and also I wanted to add, integrate into your body the gratitude. Like she's so like just a business beautiful mind, and bring it into the body. Like, here's what I'm grateful for, and here's how I can feel it in my body. Like, I'm grateful that I'm alive and I can go run. So then you're integrating it into your body. And so that's all I have to say about that. But I hope that helps.
I love it. It actually, it's funny that you would bring that up, that you saw this this sign that said, listen, 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 because right before that, I was reminded of what we talked about when you interviewed me. And it was me saying, God is always talking. The question is, are you listening?
Yeah.
Reverence.
And can you hear the voice of truth? Can you
Yes.
discern the difference? And God, I'd love to interview you on that, PJ, because I don't feel like I have the answer to that. But if you want to speak to that, or Alyssa does, that's just a practice and something I'm learning in my journey.
Well, maybe we can do something with that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alyssa, when have you experienced that raw, compassionate heart?
It's funny because as you were asking that, I was actually tearing up too, because
Mm,
I could just feel it. I think once you've felt it a couple times, it's so much easier to just connect to it too.
mhm,
And there's been different situations, of course, romantic love, like just being near the person I love. Like it's just like that's all I need. I'm like, I just need to soak up being near you and just feel that love. But often it's for me just connecting with someone, and just it can be the one-on-one, just I don't know, feeling like you have that, you just go connect deeper and have that deeper conversation and really get to know each other in that moment. And it's funny because I tell people I didn't realize I was a people person until I started having those interactions, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm an introvert. I don't dislike people, but I didn't realize that I was craving that so much, because as an introvert, I'm like, well, I can't handle large groups of people. But getting together with someone one-on-one or in small groups and just like being real and raw with each other, and then sharing and helping and building each other up, like to me there's so many ways you can be creating that connection in daily life that it's not something unusual. It's probably Abby's situation too. Like they're just being real and you're sharing your love, and it just creates this bond, and there's no pretensions, there's no hiding. And so it's been often it's like just retreats are a great place, but I've just had it like meeting with someone for coffee, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know we would connect so well. It's like, this is amazing. Like, this is why I love, you never know who you're going to meet or what's going to happen, and just like trusting and following it.
PJ, can
One,
I add something really
please,
quick? So
absolutely,
it's
please.
just what's coming through is answering my own question. And here again is my theory. We all have the answers within us, right? So it's a matter of listening. So I'm listening. I feel like God's giving the answer. Is I shared this vision that I had, right? And when I had that vision, I felt love. I felt amazing. And there's been other times where I've had visions and not felt those good feelings. So that's the discernment piece. When you're following your intuition, it will align with love. Like Alyssa's talking about, meeting one-on-one or romantic love or my vision, that all matched with the feeling of love and the knowing of intuition. Otherwise, it can be like just psychic riffraff, right? Like just things floating, because your brain can always pick up energy. So I feel compelled to share it with everybody that if you're getting, different information or visions or feelings, listen, drop it into your heart, feel it in your knowing, and make sure that that vision is connected to love, that it feels good to you. And then you feel that certainty in your gut, and then you will be supported in love. Just wait for that, because I've experienced the opposite, and I wouldn't want anybody to have to chase a vision that doesn't feel good, because truth is love. And when it's rooted in that foundation, you will experience the vision. You can have anything you want, really, but you'll experience the love, which is really why we're having this experience, right? We want to experience love. So
Mhm.
again, if you're just creating for your ego, what's the point? Unless it's aligned with love. And your question's so beautiful because it is aligned with love. But it can be like a trickster, I feel, the ego, that part of us that disconnects and can use our power to be like, oh yeah, we can do whatever we want. Truth. But is that contributing to love? Does that make you feel more love? Are you feeling love in that vision that you see? If you are, you will be supported. Go for it. If you're not, wait until it aligns with love, and then you'll know.
What do you mean by contributing to love?
I don't know. I channel so much. So like making like the ripple effect, right? Bringing more love into the world, bringing more love into yourself, right? Like you're feeling love. So when you see the vision and you feel love, it's aligned with love. If you see a vision and you're like, ooh, that feels scary, well, maybe you don't need to go down that road. What's the point? Sure, you can have it, but what's the point? If the whole goal is love, I want to say like all this other stuff is an illusion. It's temporary, right? Like we get to experience the presence of the moment and it's temporary. Like a minute ago is gone. And guess what? Love is real. Like we can hang up the phone or this interview and you know it will remain the love that we still have. And that's where, you know, my mantra lately has been like, only love is real. Only love is real. Because like I would need to bring myself back to truth. And I'm like, yeah, that's still gonna be real, you know?
It's funny that your mantra is only love is real, only love is real. Because one of mine is there is only love. There is only love. There is only love.
Yeah, I love that. There's a song by Aria. She actually did, you can maybe look it up online. It's like AHRIA, and the song is There Is Only Love. It's beautiful. So if you guys can find that, I'd love you guys to buy her CD because she's amazing. So,
It'll be a soundtrack for every morning.
right? So cool. Yeah.
How would you define love? Because we talk about it in sort of these feeling terms, but if we had to define it in some way, how would you define it? Alyssa, let's start with you.
I know, I was going to ask, please go to Alyssa.
It's sort of as I mentioned earlier, love to me is sort of like the ultimate state of bliss and joy. And there's the romantic, but there's just I guess it's just a sense of connection, of being part of something, connected to the person you're with, like whether that's family, whether that's like pets you have, an inanimate object. It's just this sense of peace and overwhelm, and sometimes it can be more intense, and sometimes it can be more mellow. It comes in different, it's got different flavors, I guess, or sense to it. Sometimes I almost can imagine as like mist or smoke in the air, and you can just sort of see it when I'm sort of visualizing something or just trying to bring more of it into my life. And it's just, it's got different flavors to it, but it's that just overall belonging, I think, is the best way. Like being a part of, again, your interview said it so great, was presence, just the presence, being in the presence.
One of the things I love about the way you speak, Alyssa, or what you speak about more specifically, is that you use all of these, your word where fragrance is, right? Use all of these words to define love, like connection, belonging, happiness, joy, bliss. These are all the words that you've used in your effort to either define love or allow people to have breadcrumbs that lead them back to love. And so it's fascinating to me because they're like spices.
Yeah.
For me, the way I'm watching you speak and then what I'm hearing you say, they become like spices for our senses to become more aware of, oh, wow, that was delicious. Oh, that was delicious. Oh, that was delicious. And you keep coming back to this sense of connection or belonging. So clearly for you, love has this feeling or this sense of connection, of belonging, of unity, of oneness, of no division.
I love it. You've just a great way of bringing it all together and having that, I guess, larger view and then summarizing it down. And it's, I like that, breadcrumbs and spices and different spices, because just with anything, any of the spices in life, like, yeah, love is maybe cinnamon, and joy and happiness are, I don't know, it could be like cardamom or nutmeg or something. But yeah, it's not a box to be defined. And everyone interprets it differently too. That's the thing as well, is everyone has a different view of what it is to them, or a different sense of how it feels to them. But that's their sense of love.
And they also have a different way of expressing it and sharing it, and a different way that they want to receive it. And I think that's a really important awareness. But that breaks down when love breaks down into the 8 or 12 or 13 or 16 different kinds of love, right? Versus unconditional love. And then it doesn't seem to matter how it's shared. People seem to always be holistically receptive to it, completely receptive.
And that acceptance is a huge part of it too, and just accepting each person for who they are, and that your way isn't the only right way, that someone may love you, but it's in a different way that you don't understand, but then you're learning to connect and understand their point of view and how they're loving, and creating that deeper connection again.
So you keep going back to that word connection, and that introverted piece of you keeps coming out, where you like that one-on-one intimacy. You love that, the depth of that intimate connection.
Yeah.
It's very obvious when I listen to you speak.
And it can be created in larger settings too, but that one-on-one or small groups where you're really getting that deeper sense of each other.
Mm. For
That's why
me,
she's a good coach.
I imagine, I can only imagine. And Abby, I want to hear your answer in just a moment, but I want to say this. It's delicious for me to sit here with both of you and ask the same question and feel and hear different answers. And it would be interesting for me to be able to be um, in the presence of your experience, each of you, your experience, because where there is a seemingly deep, still, connective unity, everything else washes away, central focus to what I hear Alyssa talk about in her experience of love. When I imagine or feel the love that Abby talks about, it's like this vibrant, vivacious sparkles coming out of me, flames and fire and joy, and it just like ripples out, like you said earlier. It just ripples out in these waves of mist or smoke, like Alyssa was talking about, or flames of all these varying colors. And so I'm hearing you both speak about the same thing, but what we're experiencing is both the outside and the outer and the inner. At least that's what I'm hearing. In Japanese, the omote and the ura, the outer and the inner, right? The yin and the yang of this all-encompassing presence.
It's funny because I guess I approach it from a different angle too. I come at it like my focus is high performance, living your best life, brain science, sort of understanding the science behind things so I can create systems that I can then train to other people. And we get to the same result, but we both look at it slightly differently.
I love that. And I love the science of it also. But there's no accounting for the sensation and the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Right? When we get out of our head and we shift into our emotional body and into our own physical body, there's no supplement or substitute rather for what the emotion and the physical body experiences compared to the limited capacity for understanding that the brain has of just understanding what's biologically going on.
Yeah, it comes back to just trusting and knowing.
I love it. So Abby, how would you define love?
But it's it's hard for me to answer with words, but to me it's the presence of God, right?
Yeah.
That no matter what's happened to you or where you've been, that you are held in love. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
This is beautiful.
You're gonna make me cry too.
Sorry. Well,
you're fine.
I never understood why I went through so much abuse and trauma as a kid. But the biggest blessing is I was touched by God when I was 8. I literally felt it move through me, and I held it in my hand, and I told my mom, I said, God's holding me and I'm holding it at the same time. The world's holding me and I'm holding it at the same time. And I just knew, and the sparkles of light you feel from me is I had to be that bright, to be that strong, to push through what was being pushed on me. And so I had to learn to be bright, and it was almost by default. but my heart grew because I loved people so much. And I knew that I was here to serve. So that's why I'm teaching this, and I don't feel perfect. I feel so far from it because I feel my own trauma has caused me to act in ways I wouldn't think of recently, and I never knew that. But I know the truth is we're all connected in this heart, and that's why I'm here doing this right now. And that's why I know Alyssa was called to do it. And I know PJ, you're called, and I know everybody listening is called, because we're all being touched by God. And that is the life force connection that is alive, that connects us all. And if we listen and know that it's okay to make mistakes because God is unconditional love. And when we see that in each other, like both of you have done for me, and I do for thousands of people because I love, and if we just come back to love, like you can't not know it because it's who you are. So you can't escape my love, right? Like you can't escape it, but you can come home to it and you can remember. And that's your soul, right? So if you listen to your gut, if you take the steps of following your center, your path is there. And I really believe we all have a purpose, that if we listen and we connect to this place that knows, I feel like we're always going to be rerouted back to it, because only we can fulfill our own purpose, right? Like we came with that. And so we know when it's done. And if it's not, we're all still here, right? As angels, like uplifting the planet. So anyways, I hope that answers your question. I think that, maybe our mind, like my conditioned response was, fundamental Christian, you have to be perfect, right? So I constantly fight that unconscious within me of be perfect or else you're going to hell. When I experienced God at 8 until now, until the rest of my, soul it's unconditional love. It's not like grim or punishment. That's not God, in my experience. I'm not here to preach, but I'm telling you in my experience. So when I realized that, that's when I started this work, because I wanted everybody to feel love and freedom and joy and to live who they were. And that's why I birthed the company. So anyways, there you go.
Abby, your gift to this world is beautiful. This world is truly a better place because of every one of your tears. And the fact that you're so raw and authentic right now allows the people that are watching to be the same, because no life has been perfect, but no life has been anything less than perfect either. And the fact that you had these experiences in your life, and yet your response was overwhelmingly love, overwhelmingly generous, overwhelmingly kind, that in and of itself is the lighthouse for all the rest of the people. I one time wrote, intuition is a lighthouse of the woman's soul. And I think you perfectly represent that. So thank you for your tears, because they inspire all of us.
She's amazing.
Well, thank you. And I feel like we all are, right? We've all had our challenges, like I know when I started teaching these classes, somebody else's pain was just as much as mine, right? It's just
Absolutely.
I happen to
Absolutely.
be sharing my story right now, and we're all in it together. So can we just hold each other,
Which leads me to my last question. And Abby, I want to start with you. What is it that you hope to accomplish with this Universal Language of Love show? What is it that you want to occur because of it?
I love that question. I want to inspire people to choose love. When they have a fork in the road, to choose love or fear, to choose their spirit or their ego, that they choose love. And even if they maybe take a stumble towards their ego or fear, which I have done before, that they move back into love. And I literally got this little whiteboard and I wrote on it, choose love, ... XOXO God. And I just felt like, again, God speaking to me, like, I'm here. Are you listening? Choose love. And remember, this is for me as much as anybody. Remember that you are love, because I was creating separation with myself. Like, oh, I will love the world and I will give everybody else love, but it's not okay if I make a mistake. It's not okay to love myself. And so this, last couple months have been a lesson of like, okay, the universe continues to give to me. And I'm like, what? Like, why am I getting this? Like, I don't deserve this. It's like, well, love yourself. You're being given this, and it's okay to love yourself. So just to give everybody permission to know it's okay, because you are that. And from that, you share it. I literally forgot your question, but I hope that was an answer.
It does. It answers the
And
question.
can
The
they please
question
go to
simply
the
was,
site? Yeah, can you go to the site, the universallanguageoflove.com, to get involved in the movement? Feel the interviews, like PJ's on the show, like everybody is just in this place of love. Like, immerse yourself with people who love you and let us hold you, because you're not alone.
amen, sister, you're not alone. One of the things that I like that you said was that there's this tendency to love outside, like love everybody and everything else, but me, right? But the everything is not everything without you, right? So when somebody says, well, I love everyone, but if there's a but in myself, then you don't love everyone, because everyone isn't everyone without you, right? The whole of the universe has a hole in it when you choose everyone and everything but yourself.
And yet so many of us are so guilty of that too.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we just eradicate that word guilt for a second? I'm like so over that, like judgment of wrong. I think my spirit's like, wow, can we just transform it with love? Because I'm like, maybe we're learning. Like, Alyssa, you're so good at that. Like, oh, I learned.
Yeah, okay, this sucked. What can I learn from it so it doesn't repeat again? Why did I have to go through that? My motto is what's the best that can happen, or what's the best, whatever happened was the best that could have happened. So even if it was horrible, something worse could have happened. So this was the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love it.
Yeah. We said I love it at the same time.
So Alyssa, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, of like everything Abby said, of course, as well, but I'll just go in a different direction then, is I want people to find that there's different avenues to love, and that they can have their own different way. And all of the speakers that we're talking to have different areas of expertise and different ways that their path has brought them together. And sometimes it was easier, sometimes it was harder, but just creating the space for love and finding maybe just that little tidbit that helps them make a difference. One lady we interviewed was talking about how there's even the energy, like if you're at a stoplight, the energy from the person that was there before you is still there, and it could be affecting you. So just being aware of that. If you're out somewhere and you suddenly notice a change, notice that maybe you're just be more aware, present to what you're doing and how you're feeling, so that you can take more control of yourself and stay in the positive, not control of yourself in a bad way, but more like, oh, like I get to make this a good moment again, or I get to appreciate this, or I get to bring more joy in my life. I don't want to feel this way. I'm going to focus on the fun, the love, the different ways that I can have that, and that I can live the dream life that I want, or be experiencing everything that I want to be experiencing.
Absolutely. I love that. It's always about that choice, because there's always freedom. And if we live in reaction is a slave action. So by recognizing that we always have a choice is opening up that opportunity to love in every moment. I love this. I love this. And I love both of you. So ladies and gentlemen, anyone out there, we love you, and we're so grateful that you've joined us in this Universal Language of Love show. How is it that you want them to reach out to you? What is it that you want them to click on? Is there a website that they can go to? What's the next step for your audience?
Thank you for asking. We love you too, PJ. You can go to www.theuniversallanguageoflove.com, and you can enter your name and email address to get access to these amazing speakers and just hear more about this. You're also welcome to email me personally at Abby, ABBY, at lifeforceconnection.com. which is also the link to our main site where you can read about the coaching work and the nonprofit. And we got to get you up on the side, Alyssa, and all the people that have done the programs. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. And Alyssa, I'm sure you want to share ways people can contact you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And universal language of love is the best way. There's so many great speakers, so getting access to that, being a part of this movement. And then I also have my own website, alyssawilliamson.com. Alyssa, ALYSSA, Williamson, WILLIAMSON. And I've got a few free resources there. And just my focus is empowering people to live their best lives and creating strategies and tips that they can take through and create. And these are just a few of the different pieces I've collected over time that I love to share because it makes such a difference in your life. It's the small things. It's the, as you said, gratitude is simple, but it doesn't always mean that you do it. Just because it's simple doesn't, like, it's sometimes the easiest thing for us to drop to. So having all of those little pieces is a part of your daily routine.
Wow. Thank you, Alyssa.
Well, thank both of you. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Alyssa, because you have brought more love into this world simply by creating this show and by bearing your heart and your soul. The world has become a better place. And beautiful people that you're watching, connect with Abby, connect with Alyssa, take that level of create that level of relationship and see where it takes you and see how you can use that connection to better and improve your relationships with others. I love everyone out there. Even though we may not know you, we have love for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and stay connected.